Hello, Facebook and YouTube. My name is Diana Balla, and I am a coach on Leslie Vernick's team. I'm here with you live from Leslie's public Facebook page. We're going to go live on Instagram, providing everything works tonight. Yes, it looks like we're live on Instagram as well. So I want to welcome you. We are on Leslie Vernick's public pages. And so I want to remind you that as you comment, just please know that your comments will be public. And I want to welcome you. Hi, His Divine Protection. What a wonderful name. I love that. I just want to take that in. Divine Protection sounds so wonderful. Well, as I said, I'm Coach Diana coming to you from Northeast Ohio, lovely state of Ohio, beautiful, just a little bit south of Cleveland I am. And I know Cleveland gets a bad name, but we have a lot to offer here in Cleveland. So much is always going on here. And our topic for today is what's possible if you learn to be honest with yourself and walk in truth. And I'm wondering, as you're signing on today, coming to our topic today, what your thoughts are. What was your curiosity about our topic tonight? And what are you hoping to take away today as we talk about learning to be honest with yourself and walking in the truth? I have some ideas for you. I have some challenges, and I have some takeaways for you as we step into our topic today. So welcome. I'm just going to check our topics today. Yes. Wow. We have a lot of people signing on here, and it's so good to see you all. And I'm surprised if you're over on the East Coast, it's pretty late for you here. So if you're comfortable, where are you calling in from? It's nice to see you all. Just giving everybody a chance to come on live. And maybe put in the chat for me how you heard about us at Leslie Vernick and Company. Have you seen Leslie speak? Have you read her book? Have you seen our podcasts? Have you caught us on YouTube? What intrigues you about the work that we do here? Or our topic today, what's possible if you learn to be honest with yourself and walk in truth? And I'm delighted to talk about this today because it is one of our core concepts, so to speak, in Leslie's model, which is called Walking in Core Strength. And she's developed that model to help us grow strong and to walk in some of these aspects are really designed to fulfill who God's called us to be. So welcome from Lancaster County, PA. I love Lancaster County. I believe that's where they have a really wonderful museum there. We see North Dakota in the house, been to North Dakota, Syracuse. I have not been to Syracuse. Yeah. Where else are you ladies calling in from? I'm looking at the Instagram chat. Welcome. You may see me floating across the screen just looking and reading the chat, which means I'm here with you. Only way to be free. Love that. California. Woohoo. We don't have anybody here. We have Tennessee here. Tennessee's in the house. One of my favorite places to visit. If you've not been to Tennessee, you've got to see Anakeesta. It is so beautiful and so fun. In the mountain. We've got North Carolina, Missouri, Michigan. Michigan's my neighbor to the north. I've never been to see Lake Michigan. It's a much more beautiful lake than Lake Erie. And South Carolina, one of my favorite states. Orlando, Alaska. I always think about how do people make it through the dark days in Alaska? I would have lamps everywhere just to catch some of that sunlight. So good for you. Alaska is a beautiful state. So I'm seeing that some of you have read her books. You've been part of Conquer. So my question to you was, how did you find us? And what intrigues you today about our topic? And so I'm going to ask you for some participation. I'll be asking you some questions to weigh in. I want to remind you that this is a public Facebook page. We ask that you be cognizant of the fact that it will be accessible to anyone in the public. So as you comment, feel free to do that with discretion. Oh, thank you for that. Conquer is fabulous. Conquer is a support and educational group that we have, and it's an empowerment group for women. So I'm super excited about this topic today because it's one of my, actually, it is my favorite step in the core concept of walking in core, which we'll talk a little bit about. But I want to start by talking a little bit about the big idea. There's many of you have heard of one of our famous women in counseling and psychology, Diane Langberg. And there is a quote that she says, and I'm going to read it for you. Self-deception is not the worst thing we can do, but self-deception is the means by which we do the worst things. And I'm going to say that one more time for you. Self-deception isn't the worst thing we do, but it is the doorway through which the worst things enter. And so as we think about that, how many of us take the time to really sit and think about the ways in which we're not telling ourselves the truth or facing the truth in our lives? It's a quite natural self-defense mechanism to avoid the hard realities, the harsh realities, kind of white knuckle it and just get through life. And so my question is, how could someone justify harming another human being, without first lying to themselves? And so we've all been in spaces or heard of people who justify their behavior when it's destructive to someone else. And an example of that might be someone who's engaging in an emotional affair and lying about it. They're justifying, I deserve this. It won't hurt them if they don't know. Here's the hard part. Victims also participate in self-deception. And whether you're a victim or you're on the other side of it, it's not about committing evil, but it's about tolerating it, minimizing it, spiritualizing it, and enduring it silently. So my question to you is, where in your life have you said to yourself, it's not that bad? Thinking about that. Maybe it's been a relationship that you've been, a friendship, a work situation that's very toxic for you, and you're tolerating it, but you're noticing that it's having drastic consequences to your brain, your body. Maybe when you go home, you're not all there. What truth for you feels too scary for you to look at right now? And if you're not comfortable putting in the chat, grab a pen and paper. And as I walk through these questions with you, just be honest with yourself. Invite the Holy Spirit to speak truth to you. I'll read them again. And Karen is putting it in the chat for us. Where in your life have you said, it's not that bad? I'm going to minimize. I'm going to deny. I'm going to pretend that it's not having an effect on me. And what truth feels too scary for you to look at right now? Maybe it's a need for a change. Maybe it's something that you're facing physically with your body that you don't want to consider, that you don't want to look at. Maybe a bump or a lump that you need to have looked at. And what are you pretending is fine that really isn't fine? And I see, thank you for responding in the chat, ladies. I'm seeing that there's some honesty here, lying and minimize when you're in the situation. Yeah. So scripture says, this isn't anything new to humans. God says in Jeremiah 17:9 that we are all prone to self-deception, that our hearts can deceive us. And in Psalms 119:29, the prayer is, keep me, Lord, from lying to myself. And even in Romans 1, Paul tells us that we exchange the truth of God for a lie. We make things easier for ourselves, or so we think. So I want to say to you, if this is you and you're aware as I'm speaking that there are areas of your life and your thoughts where you're telling this to yourself, don't shame yourself. Just notice. This is human. You're human. You're not a bad Christian woman. This is a problem for Christian women, though, because we are especially skilled at pretending performing, enduring silently. And I think the worst of all is calling fear submission, or we submit out of fear. Yeah. And thank you for your honesty in the chat and for your awareness of really what we're talking about. It's telling me that God is speaking to you as you're admitting it to yourself and even putting it out here. And so my question to you again, just to reflect on, when have I said I'm fine when I'm really not fine? When have I said it's okay and it really isn't okay? Have I ever defended or made excuses for someone else's destructive behavior to myself or to someone else? And have you ever minimized your own pain just to keep the peace? Yeah. Matthew 13:15, as long as your ears are dull of hearing, your eyes are closed. That is a great scripture. Refuse to understand with our hearts, we can never be healed. Thank you for that. So I want to ask you, what does self-deception look like to you? What are some of the words that you could put for self-deception? How would you name it? Well, just give me one word. I'll get you started. For me, self-deception can be avoiding. Sometimes avoiding what's hard for me to do, what's hard for me to look at. What other names do you believe self-deception goes by? Denial, numbing. You guys are getting it, yep. Denial, absolutely. Pretending, huge. Believing lies, awesome. Awesome naming it, ladies. We're making a great list here. I'm going to go back to the chat and add your words to my list. Yeah. I also think of minimizing, spinning the truth, deflecting ownership, deflecting blame. And I think a lot of times self-deception can be spiritualizing. Sometimes we're in tremendous pain and we throw a platitude up on ourselves rather than just owning that, hey, I'm in pain. I'm grieving. This is hard. This really hurts. Yeah, telling myself things aren't as bad as they are. Self-sacrificing and avoiding. Overfunctioning is another way. I'm going to overfunction because I'm deceiving myself and not owning the truth that this isn't reciprocal. This isn't mutual. Settling, getting small, all of those things, yes. And I think a big one for us as Christian ladies is we think we're submitting, but really we're just afraid and we're caving. And maybe you have some examples of that. I have some for you that can put a label on it. It might sound like, and oh, mercy, I hear this enough. At least he doesn't hit me. It's only emotional abuse. If I don't look at the finances or know about the finances, I won't have to deal with them. If I just love him more, we can get through this. How many of you have heard yourself in your own heart and mind saying those things? Telling yourself you're okay and ignoring the damage to your heart, to your mind, to your soul, and literally to our bodies. Yes, when we finally understand the full definition of what's happening to us, we no longer minimize. Yes. Sometimes it's really hard for us to speak the truth to ourselves because I think then if we look at the truth and speak the truth and acknowledge it, what is the next step forward? So what is your go-to escape strategy? I had someone admit to me today, scrolling, and I hadn't even thought about scrolling as numbing. It is. Avoiding, fixing it, maybe just having that hope spin in your heart and mind, just wishing, waiting, wanting for things to be different, over spiritualizing. And so where in your life are you saying to yourself, it's not that bad? I'm overworked. I'm underpaid. I'm not achieving much. My body's failing, and it's not that bad. Yes, not knowing or recognizing the codependency. So again, where are you pretending that fine isn't fine? Let me say that differently. Where are you pretending it's fine when it isn't fine? Where are you pretending that you're okay or telling yourself you're okay just to get through, but you're really, really not okay? There are some things that need attention looking at. Type in the chat. In what area are you pretending that it's fine, but it's not okay? Overeating. Yeah. I'll be real with you. I have been in pain all day. We talked about lumps that need looked at. I've avoided going to the doctor for a lump that ended up on my hand, most likely arthritis. But I have been in pain all day, just avoiding it, ignoring it. And finally, right before we met tonight, I acknowledged to myself, this is really bothering me. I mean, it's painful, and I'm just trying to avoid it. And so for myself, just being real with you, engaging in self-denial, I don't like taking NSAIDs. I went to the cupboard and took a Tylenol because I wanted to be here with you tonight, not in pain, hoping it'll kick in. Yeah, but I mean, it's those things, where have I noticed, I don't know, something that needs checked out at the doctor? Denial can be so costly for us. I want to ask you, what's your payoff for avoiding the truth? And for me, pretending I could deal with it, pretending it wasn't that bad. And I looked at my hand and I thought, oh my goodness, pain is shooting all the way up my hand. Tomorrow, I'm getting it looked at by a hand specialist. I created the time and the space to do that because I wanted to stop avoiding doing everything else and ignoring the truth that I have something that needs to be checked out by an expert. Enough Googling and asking everybody else what it might be. All my friends and family, even nurses, have weighed in on it. And you know what the truth is? I went to the doctor initially. She wanted an x-ray and I ignored it, did not get an x-ray. So now I'm taking care of business. I'm no longer pretending it's okay. I'm no longer pretending that I'm not in pain. I'm getting it looked at. So the question is, why do we lie to ourselves? And sometimes it's because the truth feels scary. And it feels better in the moment to just ignore, avoid, or lie. And part of that lie is it'll get better. Hello, it'll get better. And it didn't. It just kept getting a little bit worse. Yes. We don't keep boundaries. Yeah, your payoff for avoiding the truth. Yeah, I know dealing with it by working all the time is a big one. We can use so many distractions, whether it's just fun distractions, pleasurable things, or just burying ourselves in achievement, success, work, all of those things. And yes, we are afraid sometimes of the outcome. Because the truth feels scary and it feels better in the moment. It protects us from grief, from fear. I mean, I really did create a bigger issue with my hand by avoiding listening to my doctor and getting it looked at further. And the truth of the matter is, I probably have something on my knuckle now that's never going to go away and will probably give me increasing pain. One of those gifts osteoarthritis gives us. Yeah. And I think the truth, like I love what you say, Alyssa, as long as we're covering the truth, we're not going to want to see, we don't want to see, we will never prosper or heal physically, emotionally, spiritually. So I think of 5 areas where self-deception protects us: grief, fear, responsibility, conflict, and change. Yes, I love that, Sharon, saying ignoring the actual pain because other people have it worse. My suffering, whatever my suffering is, whether it's physical, whether it's emotional, whether it's relational, is not as bad as so-and-so's. we compare. And yet we're suffering tremendously. It's costing us. And we're looking at someone else who has it much worse. And so I want to say to you, if you're engaged in comparison, set that comparison aside and look at what you're experiencing. Yes, we're afraid of the outcome. Exactly. So yeah, but avoiding the truth, whether it's avoiding the grief, avoiding the fear, avoiding responsibility, thinking that we're avoiding conflict. And the big one is, if I face the truth, I will have to be faced with what needs to change. And that could be hard. That could be scary. That's unpredictable. It's uncertain. Those are all big words for anxiety. But it really costs us in the long term. What are some of the things that you believe are the prices that you have paid for ignoring the truth? Where have you paid a price for not facing something sooner? The truth can hurt you, but denial decays us. We pay stupid tax from decisions that we've made in pretend land. We pay stupid tax for waiting things are going to change, for expecting things to change or believing they will when we have no evidence. And we may have decades of evidence behind us that speak the truth that things are not changing. And there's a huge history that it won't. It can cost us emotional depletion, regret. Two big ones, ladies: unnecessary suffering and lost time. How many of us have engaged in unnecessary suffering because maybe we're afraid of facing the hard? Yes. Yeah. So you're naming some of the ways in which you've paid the price for not facing something sooner. Good for you for acknowledging with awareness and naming it. Lost time is a big one. Yeah. So asking ourselves, and of course, the Bible and our gracious Lord is a great example to us. But what does Jesus really say about the truth? He says, we can know the truth, we shall know the truth, and it will set us free. What a promise is that? And I want to ask you, how can bad truth set you free? If the truth is bad, how can that possibly set you free? I say truth is truth. I say facing the truth clarifies what's really happening. I say facing the truth stops confusion. It protects us from self-gaslighting. Yes. And a big one is, I say truth restores our agency, our ability to take control of our lives as adult women in a mature way, being responsible and reliable for change. And a big one, ladies, is the truth aligns you with reality. And this is a fact. Healthy people have a courageous commitment to reality at all costs. So in our desire to be healthy, to be strong, to walk in clarity and truth, where is your courageous commitment to reality at all costs? Just one thing you can name. You don't have to name it publicly here, but you can. What's one truth you can name that will help you commit to reality? What might that be? So I want to say to you, we are talking, well, actually, we have a big week this week. We've opened up a new coaching group for you, and it has all to do with what I'm talking about tonight. It's all about becoming strong and walking in core strength. And I told you at the beginning of my time talking with you today here that my favorite part of core is the C step. I can't tell you how long I walked in the C step, and in some ways I'm still coming back to it. But the C step in core is being committed to the truth. It means internally in my own heart and mind, and externally, the truth inside me with awareness and the truth outside me. And I think the biggest part of the C step is refusing to pretend. Now, there's some other steps that we work on in core strength. We have O, which is being open, which it means ongoing self-examination through wise others and the Holy Spirit. The R step is being responsible for our own responses, responsible for our side and being respectful to others. And the E talks about being empathic and compassionate toward others. And it really speaks to boundaries. But I'm coming back to you tonight with the C step, which again, I said is my favorite, because who doesn't pretend? What are the ways in which you self-deceive and you really pretend? Yeah. So today we're starting with the C, and I just want to impart some wisdom to you and hopefully some takeaways and encouragement. And I want to invite you, if you're not familiar with our group coaching classes, the cards are open. And if you desire to dive into 3 months of learning what it's like to walk in transformational truth and become a woman of core strength, please check the link. The link is leslievernick.com/group coaching. There will be many sections open. And if you want your best time available, I would encourage you to do it early. And so we've got that in the chat for you. And again, it's leslievernick.com/group coaching. Let me just change my banner here so you can see that as well. There we go. All right, coming back to you now. Managing tech all by myself tonight. How do you like that? And yes, Dawn, I want to just highlight what Dawn is saying. We need to have compassion for ourselves. Having compassion for ourselves is telling ourselves the truth. And maybe you're not ready for a change. Maybe you're just needing to look and notice the truth. But we want to teach you in Walking in Core Strength. In those 3 months, we're going to meet every other week for 90 minutes. You'll have curriculum and homework to do. And the homework is transformational because we want you to step into what the strength looks like, and you're going to be able to practice it. You're going to be able to share what's happening with you with the other ladies that are in your group. And so let's talk a little bit about what my favorite one is that C step really looks like. What does a courageous commitment to reality look like? It really means that I stop spinning. Maybe it's going to change. I'm hopeful. All of that energy that you put into that really keeps you spinning in your heart, in your mind, in your body. And so a commitment to courageously walking in the truth is stopping pretending, no longer minimizing. Telling yourself the truth before you try to tell anyone else. It means that we face the internal reality. And so what internal reality might you be wanting to face as we're talking about it now? Maybe your internal reality is, I'm really resentful. Maybe the internal reality is, this has been traumatic for me, and I witnessed the trauma in my body. Maybe the internal reality is, this has been so hard, I can't even think straight. I'm confused. I don't have clarity. I'm afraid, exhausted, depressed. I'm drinking too much. We're not talking alcoholic, but we're talking drinking too much. I'm using it to soothe, to comfort. I'm eating too much. I'm drinking too much. I'm shopping too much. And I don't know what to do. And ladies, naming that isn't shameful. It doesn't make you bad. It makes you human, and it makes you aware. Yes. When you've been walking in hard circumstances and not facing the truth, you don't have the ability to think clearly. Sometimes it's walking around in a fog. And the truth of the matter is, you can't make external relationships good all by yourself. whether it's your best friend, whether it's your parent, or whether it's your partner. The truth is, you didn't make it bad by yourself, and you can't make it good all by yourself. But you can find more peace, and you cannot make it healthy alone, but you can make you healthy. So our call for you really at LV and Company is to do your work and let the other adults in your life do their work. So the reality check is, I'm going to ask you this question, is what am I avoiding? We spent some time doing this. And once you declare what you're avoiding, what do you need to help you step into that? That's what our group coaching is all about. You don't have to do it alone. And you can benefit from having the encouragement and courage of everyone on screen along with your coach. Yes. Yeah, maybe you're stuck in resentment. Yeah. Speaking truth to yourself is so powerful. Speaking truth to others who get it, who want to walk with you in the next step. Once you speak truth to yourself, what's next? I think a lot of times we're afraid of what will happen if we face the truth. So we're looking at, what am I really avoiding? What am I afraid is going to happen if I face the truth? These are just some of the questions that we examine along with you and help you with so that you can take the next step forward. And also, I think a big one is, what has pretending cost me? Yeah. Yeah. So, I want to say to you that healthy selfishness exists. And healthy selflessness exists. Now, I don't have a ruler with me here to show. I guess I do. So let's talk about this. We always talk about things on a continuum. I'm just going to use my ruler here. Where are you on this continuum? All right, we've got our ruler here. And let's say healthy selfishness is over here. And healthy selflessness is over here. Right? Where are you on this continuum? We want a combination of being selfless and being selfless is not being selfish. And I think I said that wrong. So I'm going to go back to my ruler here. This is unhealthy and this is healthy. Where are you on this continuum, ladies? Just give an indication towards yourself. Do I have a healthy sense of selfishness? Can I really be selfish with myself that I can protect and preserve myself? Yes, yes. Others may call you unhealthy. Many Christian women slide into unhealthy selfishness and they call it godliness, selflessness. Not having a self is not godly. You get to be a self, you get to have a self. So asking yourself, what if what you've been calling godly is actually just fear? What if God isn't asking you to sacrifice the best of you, of who you are, so the worst of someone else can flourish? Yes, yes. I mean, we have to practice these things. Sometimes we feel guilty for working out, for crying out loud, for taking care of our bodies. Yes, acceptance is hard work, and yes, it does hurt. And so I want to ask you, let's just try to make this real for you now. What could actually be different in your marriage If before you are honest with yourself, you explain away lies, you overfunction, your mood depends on his mood, you chase conversations, you defend yourself constantly, you feel anxious and resentful. That's reaction mode. That's denial mode. What if after your courageous commitment to reality, you say, I'm noticing a pattern here, and I'm recognizing that it's not on me to fix this. And you told yourself the truth that I cannot, and set a boundary, I will not absorb blame for this. And you made a choice to not participate in that dynamic. So in other words, you stop arguing in circles, you begin setting calmer boundaries, you allow consequences, you stop over-explaining, and you move from being reactive to being anchored. And what if, ladies, what if you didn't have to do this work alone? If you're finding a tug in your heart with the words that I'm saying, I want you to consider giving 3 months of your life to doing your own internal work, to stepping into core strength. What if things could be different in your emotional life? And so like before truth, you numbed. You were suppressing anger, you'd smile publicly, but you were really dying inside and crying privately. What if you just dismissed your depression and hopelessness as just being tired? And after you worked on really facing truth and committing to reality, you admitted to yourself, I'm grieving. I'm really disappointed with life. And I'm feeling unsafe and I'm angry. And that matters. What could change for you if you sought wise support? You learned to regulate instead of explode. You stopped shaming your emotions, and you allowed yourself to feel sadness without self-betrayal. You become internally integrated. And this is my favorite. What happens if in your nervous system, you used to walk on eggshells? You were hypervigilant all the time. You had anxiety spikes. And you were afraid of conflict, so much so that you couldn't be yourself, say what you really thought or felt. And what if after you just learned to tolerate the tension, you expected pushback, which is a big one. Tolerating pushback is huge. We really need to practice that because sometimes when we get pushback, when we're trying to get strong, we end up caving. I've been there, I've done that. But what if you learn to just expect it and tolerate the discomfort? What if you gained the skill of not spiraling as quickly? And you were able to say to yourself, his reaction, her reaction is his or her responsibility. You are no longer fighting reality here, and that alone reduces your suffering. And if you agree with me, put an amen in the chat. I already see Tammy's given us an amen. Yes. Yeah. And what if you didn't have to learn to be okay where you were? What if you found strategy to step out of it? What if before being committed to truth with your children, you protected his image at all costs and you modeled overfunctioning? You normalized his dysfunction or the dysfunction in the home. And you just exuded calm strength, you know. You taught your daughter's dignity and your son's responsibility once you learn to step into truth. You demonstrated boundaries. You know, walking in truth can change your legacy and the future with your children. Yeah. It can change how they see you, what you model as you walk forward with them. Sometimes we think we've made mistakes, but it's never too late to become and to demonstrate who we want them to see and the parent that we want to be. I always say, as long as you're on this side of the earth, you have a second chance. And you don't have to do it alone. You have the Holy Spirit with you. And you have a group of women who are willing to walk with you as well. Healing does take time. Protecting your heart is key. Yeah. And so, one of the biggest core concepts is your identity. What if before you were consumed by your husband, just being centered on his needs, his moods, seeking his approval, or avoiding his anger, avoiding feelings of being afraid by his being discontent with your behavior, or you not meeting his expectations. But what if after working on your core strength and who you are in Jesus, what if after you learned what God-centered really meant, not what you've been manipulated to believe it is? And what if you focused on stewardship of your own precious life, not stewarding everyone else's responsibilities, not stewarding all of their anger, their drama, their behavior, but you were stewarding yourself? And what if you learned to become a mature, spiritually, emotional adult? Ladies, that means we'd stop making the idol of our marriage and live our life as God intended. In Ephesians 5:11, God says, don't participate in the deeds of darkness, expose them. And I believe speaking the truth, walking in the truth, being in the truth is not being cruel. It is good stewardship. And we are called to walk wisely, walk safely, and speak truth to ourselves and to others where it's appropriate. So I want to say to you, I'm hearing you. Yeah. Thank you for the amens. I want to say to you that the first practical step to stop pretending, it is not confronting, it's not divorce, and it's not blowing up your life. And, many women that I work with take the challenge to start walking in core strength. And the first thing that we think of is we want all of the big choices. We want to take the huge steps, but sometimes that is not what we need. And so the first practical step is just telling yourself the truth in writing. You've started that a little bit with me tonight with some of the prompts and the questions that I've asked you. And so telling yourself the truth in writing is just privately, without editing it, without spiritualizing it, without defending him. Finish these sentences. The truth about my marriage is, just be bold, just be honest, just be truthful. Put all those self-defense parts aside. All of those strategies for survival, and speak the truth. The truth. I love that, Dawn. Dawn's being so honest. The truth about my marriage is what? It's disappointing. It's discouraging. It's killing me. It's leaving me feeling like I really don't want to move forward in life. I mean, yeah. Yes. Yes, there we go. Speaking the truth. I've not been cared for. I've not been cherished. I've not even received kindness. Finish this statement. The truth about my fear is, what might that be? Now that you've spoken the truth or written the truth about your marriage honestly and boldly to yourself, the truth about my fear is what? For me, fear is a lot about uncertainty. I think fear is mostly always future-based. Fear is that unpredictability. We much would rather stay in the certainty of what we know, even though it's not great, or maybe worse. Yeah. I love that, Anna. My fear is irrational. Yeah, fear is not rational. Fear is, oh gosh, we can put some great words to fear. I think fear is hitting a wall. Fear is being stuck. Fear is being trapped. There are so many things that fear does. So just naming your fear. Yeah. And the truth about my anger is, the truth about my anger might be, the truth about my anger is, I don't even know how to express it. I don't know how to come to terms with it. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to acknowledge it. Maybe the anger is appropriate. Oh, I love that. My fear is understandable. Yes. That is compassion for yourself. Of course you're afraid. But speaking the truth to yourself is also embracing the fear of it. And the fear of the what now. Yeah. We can hold both of those. We can walk in truth, and we can notice our fear. We can notice our uncertainty. And here's a big one for me to name for you. When you've been living in survival mode and you've been lying to yourself and not telling yourself the truth, you're living in amnesia brain. You're moment to moment. You are not counting the cost of all of the incidents, all of the experiences before you that your very body is carrying. And so this is a prompt that I want you to think about that's going to allow you to think about the cost. The truth is, what has the harm that has come to me, and what is this costing me now? What has it cost me over the years, and what is it costing me now? You don't want to live another day, another month, another year of cost that you can reverse by ignoring the truth of it. And so facing that reality is core strength. It's a courageous commitment to the reality and the truth of what needs to be looked at. And I want to warn you, there's nothing about this that isn't hard. And it may be very, very new for you, and that's okay. It's going to feel uncomfortable. So when you move toward truth, he might criticize you, or they might criticize you. He or they might shame you. And that's, you know what? I don't even want to say may. I want to say just expect it. Expect criticism, expect shame, expect blame shifting, manipulation, and expect that you might feel guilty, because standing up for yourself, walking in the truth, can be confusing at first when you're experiencing backlash. And that, yes, mocked. We may be mocked. And that's normal. When you change the dance, sometimes people don't know how to dance with you. Sometimes they adjust. But the question is, are you going to continue dancing the way that you've been? And what is it costing you? Being honest about that. I've met way too many women at certain decades of their life who no longer feel they have a choice because, whoops, oh, that was scary. They no longer feel they have a choice because their life has been so hard on them that they're not physically well. So I want to say to you that this criticism, shame, manipulation, gaslighting, and you feeling guilty is all a part of what's normal. Because, ladies, darkness resists light. Yes, the claws will come out. It will get harder. You will have to face hard decisions as you step into the truth, because when you change, often others don't like it. They want status quo. So the truth is, darkness resists light, but your allegiance is to God, not to keeping everyone comfortable or maintaining lies and false truths, someone else's image. So finally, as we kind of come to a close, I want to ask you some final questions to take away with you, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay. Again, I want to invite you to Walking in Core Strength, and you will find that 3 months that you spend with your group of ladies, encouraging, transforming. That's our goal, to walk with you, to encourage you, to empower you. It's my personal platform, Empowering Women. And so you can go to leslievernick.com/group coaching to find out what sections are available. So I want to ask you again, we're going to just leave with some of these truths. What truth has God been nudging you to see? Where are you tired of pretending? The truth might be it's not changing. Where are you tired of pretending? Maybe it's that smile on your face when you leave the house. What would it look like to steward your own soul this year? For me, that lights me up. And to do it, whether you do it with us or whether you do it on your own, for me, that's just a win. Just the word stewarding your own soul. What might that look like? The first thing is looking at the truth of who you are, who you're called to be, who you're known. How does God see you? How does he call you? And so as we leave today, I want to leave you with one challenge. And maybe as you're coming back to the page, you can put it in the chat. What's one small act of honesty you can practice this week? One small act of honesty. As we stop pretending, we regain agency. We can stop our unnecessary suffering. We can move from decision-making out of panic and fog to clarity. We carry our dignity. My word for this year is respect. And, it's really a good word for me this year. It used to be authentic, because I told you guys that my favorite step in core is the C step, walking in truth, no longer pretending. So authentic was the perfect word for me as I was working on the C step. This year, it's respect. And I want to responsibly respect myself and also respect others. But for me, what does inviting respect for me look like? As I seek to walk in the truth, right? And so the truth is, what becomes possible is you will grow in dignity and respect for yourself. You'll experience peace regardless of who does or doesn't change outside of you. And you won't be abandoning yourself anymore. You're still going to face hard things, but you will not lose yourself or your identity in the process. So I want to say to you, walking in truth doesn't mean you're unloving, you're selfish, or you're rebellious. What it means is you are aligned with reality. You are stewarding your soul. You are managing your side of the street. And you're no longer husband-centered, you're God-centered. So the truth doesn't destroy us. The truth strengthens us. I love that. Because truth aligns you with reality, and reality is where God does his deepest transforming work. So as we close for today, ladies, I want to ask you to please indicate for me in the chat, what's your takeaway moment from what we've talked about today? And for those of you that have done Core Strength with us, would you leave a testimony of what you experienced as you walked through Core Strength in the past? And some of you are deciding to do it again because you want to go a little deeper. Each time we walk through these coaching groups, there are many women who decide to do it a couple times because they're at a new place for deeper transformation and deeper awareness. Yeah. And so we want to teach you how to learn to walk in truth. And I want to say to you, arm in arm, you don't have to do it alone. And I think inspiration and motivation, practice are our goals. And I want to just invite you to that along with me. So let's see. Me to be Melissa. Me to Melissa. Okay, I'm tired of pretending things are okay when they're not. Stewarding my own soul. What are your takeaways from today's live? I love your commitment to be more humble and more loving, recording the truth of emotional abuse when it happens, to remind yourself you're not crazy. That is a huge yes. I love this. Friendships that you're not in that are not bringing you joy. Maybe there's more than just not bringing you joy. Maybe it's really detracting from who you're meant to be. Maybe some of those friendships are actually harmful to you. I had a sign on my desk and I don't know what I did with it. But the truth of the matter, what we'll be in 5 years has a lot to do with who we surround ourselves with, the things we think about, the books we read, the truths we tell ourselves, or the truths we avoid. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you for putting your nuggets in the chat. Yes, we can tolerate the pushback. And thank you for being with me tonight, for staying up so late for those of you on the East Coast. Those of you on the West Coast, it's a little earlier for you. We have another live. Actually, I think it's me tomorrow again. And the live tomorrow is... what is the name of our live tomorrow, Karen? Yep, it's tomorrow at noon. How can I break free from the unhealthy attachment to my husband? What does healthy look like? So please join us tomorrow or watch the replay. God bless you and good night.